Okay, we've had some people asking what would be a very good thing to teach in the very first class ever that you teach, very first boxercise class ever. Should people teach a warm up before they teach the punches, or can you go straight into a game? Well, the answer is no, you can't go straight into a game because somebody could get injured if you haven't taught them good, safe technique. So, the very, very first thing that you must do is you must teach safe technique. And the most important thing that you teach, obviously, is that the thumbs are outside of the hand. Now, some people will say, should I teach punches 1 and 2 and 3 and 4? Week 1, all you're going to have time to do is punches 1 and 2. Now, you've been taught to teach them, but remember, thumbs are outside the hand, the wrist is flat, and when you're facing towards the class, in the main, most of them are going to be orthodox. So what you're going to need to do is you must turn and face southpaw like this. If you have a southpaw boxer, when you come to mirror image them later, you will need to change to orthodox. This way you'll be rotating in the same direction as them. So bear that in mind. You will need to be in both stances, but when teaching towards the group as a whole, generally you are going to be in a southpaw stance. So week 1, all I would suggest that you do is teach punches 1 and 2. Now, some people will say, well, what about teaching movement? Quite frankly, for 1 week, 1 and 2 is enough. I wouldn't bother to teach movement. Save that for weeks 2 or week 3, but don't be teaching punches and movement the first week. You did it on your instructor course. It's just too much to learn. So what you're going to do is teach them thumb outside the hand, wrist is flat. Remember your sideways demos, and then their hands here. So the jab is going to stick out like this, punching to aim to superimpose their chin, and 2, the cross. Make sure that they pivot. Then when they're holding the pads for each other, make sure that they have their 3 shock absorbers. 1, 2, the stance. 3, the body lean. If they're not leaning forwards, if they're upwards, they can be pushed backwards. So you need to be teaching them to hold the pads just safely and just to get them to go 1, 2 and call the punches, then pull the pads in. It's really important that you get them to do that because it's a very important safety point. If you spend 5 to 10 minutes doing that, I'd say 5 minutes thereabouts is enough. You've got enough to do a single session. Then you're going to do a little bit on the pads or maybe a circuit. That's up to you how you do that. But once you've got the basics there and you can teach them, you can then go into some other drills, such as many of the drills you can find on the Facebook page, which are in the drills section. You can look for in the files section, look for drills. You can see loads of the bee stings, loads of the different drills and exercises, and damn near every one of them can be done off 1 and 2 only. For example, point and punch. I point at you, you run to me, you give me 10 straight punches, just 1s and 2s, and then you run back. Or dodgeball, for example, there's another really, really good one. And when the ball is thrown at them, they can punch the ball away, or they have to do 10 straight punches when they hit. If you're not sure what these drills are, go and have a look on the Facebook page and you'll see videos and links to them. Don't be commenting on this video, just go there and find it. You'll be able to see them quite easily. So once you've done that, that's all you need to do. Now, I'm going to give you an option. Week 2, I would suggest teaching movement. Week 3, perhaps 3 and 4. Week 4, 5 and 6. Week 5, 7 and 8. But there is an option, and this is what I prefer. That's what we teach with people who've done the Boxercise instructor course only. If you've done the Boxercise Personal Trainer Advanced course, I prefer a different approach. This is just my opinion, but I prefer people to do 1, 2, and then they'll learn to do the slips. Then they'll do 1, 2, they'll learn to roll. Then they'll do 1, 2, and the sway back. Now, don't try teaching these if you know how to do them. Only teach them if you know how to teach them to other people. And that's the difference between having done that training course and having just known or copied off YouTube. For God's sake, don't do that. So what you need to do is, if you've done the PT course, I suggest what you do is teach everything off 1 and 2, like rotational footwork, all the things you've learned in that PT course, all of those defensive moves on 1 and 2 before you ever teach 3 and 4. If, however, you've done just the basic instructor training courses, do 1, 2 week 1, week 2, 1, 2 with movement, week 3, 3 and 4, and so on. With movement, I mean like this. So I'm going to move forwards, then I do 1, 2, then I'll move backwards, 1, 2, then sideways, backward, the same, exactly the same. But don't try teaching rotational footwork unless you've been taught how to teach it, because there's a very specific thing that you must do with the heel to control the angle of movement. So just be careful with what you're teaching. Now, the other thing that people will say is, what order should I be teaching the different elements of my class? Right, this is how you do it. Firstly, the first thing you do is warm up. Now, warming up, teaching technique like this is a legitimate warm up. It's an exercise specific warm up, so you can do those drills whilst you're exercising. So doing that is a very specific warm up. You don't need to do a warm up and then do technique. Just do technique as the warm up. Then what you do is you do your stretches. So your warm up stretches and joint mobilization, really, we should call it. But then you do your mobilization, and then you do your second pulse raiser, which is your actual sort of warm up before the main body of the class. Now, that second pulse raiser could be a game of dodgeball. It could be just gentle working on the pads at 50%, then another round at 70%, then they can go into it full tilt. The choice is yours. There's a million different variants as to what you do, but it must be done in that order. Then you've got the main body of your class. Now, whether that's a circuit for you, whether it's, in my case, what I do is I teach them a new boxing move each week. So everyone's on pads and gloves in my class. I don't do a circuit because I've got some tiny kids. Children can't follow a circuit easily if they're key stage 1 age. So I do pads, 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 and pads. I do about 6 rounds of pads, and then I finish off with 20 minutes of beastings, drills, fun drills, that kind of thing. Now, it's up to you how you do it. You could do a circuit, you could do coached class like I do, or a whole thing of beastings, but everything must come off in the first week, 1 and 2. Don't be saying to them, you can do these punches, I'll teach you them next week, because you can't. You've got to teach them safety, safety, safety first, every time. Safety first, fun second, then do they look like Sugar Ray Leonard somewhere way down the line. So once you've done the main body of your class, you then do normally what's called a class finisher. So something along the lines of We Will Rock You, or Happy, or one of them, or Roxanne, one of them fun drills to finish off. I sometimes like a relay race where they have to do punches backwards and forwards. It's up to you. There's loads of these things in the drills file, in files on the Facebook group. So just take some ideas out of there. There are loads and loads of them. And then the final thing you'd do is you'd cool them down and then do a stretch. Now, cooling them down to save time, what I do is I walk my class around the room, and they can do all the upper body stretches while they're walking. So they can do stretches here, stretches there. They can do that stretch, they can do that stretch. All these different stretches can be done while moving. So they're actually cooling down while they're going. That way they spend more time doing boxing, which is what they're there to do. I hope that's helped you guys. By all means, ask questions on this thread if you want to give each other ideas. But that's a very, very quick summary of what you should be doing in your first week. Remember, technique, technique, technique. Without good technique, there is no safety, and your class will look dreadful. So make sure you adhere to excellent technique all the way through. You must do it. A dead good tip, and I've given this tip in a good video before, is after each set of punches you can do what's called reset. Watch this. Here we go. So we go 1, 2, and then instead of going boom, 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 and keep punching like you see people doing, what they do is they go 1, 2, and this is reset. What you do is this. Reset. Point that shoulder at the center line here of the pad holder, and you actually say to them 1, 2, reset. So I'd go 1, 2, reset. Or you can do it this way. You could go 1, 2, 1, 2, reset. 1, 2, 1, 2, reset. And they just stop and pause and regain their balance, because sometimes beginner punches lean too far forward. So use that reset as a way of controlling what they're doing. It won't affect their breathing rate. It's not going to affect how hard they're working, but it will give you excellent technique in your class, instead of just seeing people wailing away on the pads, which looks shit, quite frankly. Okay, guys, good luck with that. I hope that's been of help. I hope that'll save you a load of grief. The other thing, right, here's a good thing. Make sure when you do this is a good tip. When you've got people doing their punches and practicing, it's a lot to remember. So what you do is, I'll just tilt this camera over here. What you're going to do is you're going to put your water bottle over here like this, and you're going to put your notes over there. And what you do is leave your water bottle cap on, because when you go over, you'll say, right, everyone, keep practicing your punches while I get a drink. What, in the time that you pick up your drink and you look at you and you do this, when you're putting your water bottle cap back on, you're looking at your notes
and you're reminding yourself what coaching points to say, then you move over and say, and don't forget to pivot, or make sure you've got 95% of reach at the elbow. So what you can do is you can cheat a little bit, but don't go writing things all up your arms because it just looks unprofessional. So stick your notes by your water bottle, leave your water bottle cap on. Must do it on. When you know what you're doing, you can leave your water bottle cap off. Good luck, guys. I hope that's been helpful.